Welcome back to the Ink Sink. I'm Kaylee.
I'm Annie. This is our podcast on books and news and the stories we tell.
So glad you picked that up because I was just, my brain went blank. And I was just like, we've already had one catchphrase fail today and we don't need two. Where am I right now?
Who are you? What do you want from me?
How did I get here?
How did you get here? Did you try? Did you just fall out of the sky?
Yes, yeah, and it hurt.
I did get hell yeah, and then I did get a very odd message from your husband as I pulled up to this studio situation, and then Kaylee was like, "I'm gonna be 10 minutes late," and I'm like, "What? Did he kill her?" Is really the question. But then I'm like, no.
But then reresurrected me immediately, so I can make it.
Yeah, because then she texted me in another app saying the same thing. I'm gonna be 10 minutes late. I'm like, okay, well, he wouldn't have done that, so he's not impersonating her.
So the reason I did that was because historically, the signal in here goes back and forth, and I went with texting as well as Discord, just in case you are connected to the Wi-Fi, but the signal is not great.
Yeah, it's true, kids. If you ever get yourselves a studio, because of the way that they're constructed, because they have to be like noise proof and a bunch of other things proof, they're also Wi-Fi proof, so or phone signal proof. So you have to kind of manage your expectations about whether you can talk to people. But yes, so Kaylee, I'm glad you're here because I have some very important news for you.
Oh, girl, hit me up.
We're doing a podcast today.
Oh shit. No wonder.
I really wish that I had important news for you now. Like you were like ready and I had nothing for you. I'm so sorry.
Widge is adorable.
Guys, Kaylee, I don't know if you know this, but your cat, hella cute.
Oh my gosh, you guys, Annie is so right.
It's true. And if you want to learn more about the Ink Sink in whatever hall you frequent, and or on Facebook or Spotify, where are we? Apple Podcasts. You can find links to all of those on our link tree, which is available wherever you found this podcast. You can buy us a coffee on Ko-fi.
You guys don't know how long it took us to be able to say that.
I think they might. They might at this point. They're like,
our listeners might actually. They're very loyal.
All 7 of them.
Yep.
As supporters will receive an invite to our Discord channel where I post silly bloopers and also audiograms that don't fit on our Instagram or anywhere else. You can learn about how Kaylee got introduced to fandom by Graham.
That's true.
And you will also receive a special gift from us in person, or IRL, if not actually in person. But you can find all of those places on our link tree as well. And if you like to hear about any more of the books that we are talking about, they are all featured on our bookshop page at bookshop.org/shop/theinksink. Disclaimer, of course, we do receive a commission if you buy a book from one of our links. But more importantly, bookshop.org supports small independent bookstores with millions of dollars raised so far.
And you can now get ebooks.
They're also partnered with Libro FM, so you can get audiobooks if you really want to as well.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's where I need to get. So, okay. This isn't going to be my What Are You Reading segment. I've already told you about Dungeon Crawler Carl and my husband finally cracked a book that wasn't related to Thrawn. Which he didn't read fast, but he just loves Thrawn so much. #1 fanboy, this man. But it's not quite the most approachable, cinematic writing style. In general, the extended universe doesn't have that, I would say. Find an author and it might change, vary from person to person. But
and for more on that, you can listen to our episode on book packaging.
That's true. But Dungeon Crawler Carl, he just chewed through.
Good.
Right? So,
I'm glad he loved it.
Yeah. Oh man, I was like, babe, I'm going to get these for you. And he was like, I couldn't wait for you to just give them to me through when I had a Kindle Unlimited before they switched to ebooks through Bookshop. And I've canceled my Kindle Unlimited since then. But they were all there. So I was like, can you wait the day? I'm at work. And he was like, I bought them all. I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, but the ebook or the audiobooks apparently are fantastic.
Oh, good.
And
good to know.
I might break into audiobook just because apparently, I don't typically love other podcasts. Sorry, guys. And audiobooks are also difficult for the same reason, which is that I read a lot faster than most people speak for legibility and the ability to like process words and to differentiate words. And so it's slightly frustrating. But that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy verbal storytelling. I do. Like I watch like people playing different like tabletop games, and that's like a different collaborative experience. So it's interesting to me to like figure out the difference for myself. So I might give this one a shot since it is very well recommended and see if I can break into it again.
Can I make a recommendation? You can. Can I make a recommendation?
I would love to.
So there's a company called Graphic Audio that does like fully produced versions of audiobooks. So they'll have like the background noise and like extras talking in the background. That might be more your speed. I was listening to one of my friends she works at Recorded Books, and she was involved in the audiobook production for the Fourth Wing and Iron Flame series, the Empyrean series. And she was talking about how very, very different the two readings are. And she like played us. That was one of the ways in our audiobook and podcasting publishing class. She's one of the teachers. And she was showing us how different the audio experience is as you're listening to just the straight read. And no shade to obviously the narrator of those books. Like she's a fantastic narrator. But then there's like the graphic audio version where like you can hear like they're in a gym. So there's like sparring happening. So you're like grunts and like people hitting a mat. And then as they're talking and they're like, no one can hear us. There's so much noise, which reads one way with just the visual or with just the narrator and reads a totally different way with the actual experience. So if you are maybe going to like experience audiobooks more, that may be a really good entry for you because it is still like an entry into audiobooks, but it's a much more like produced one, and there's still narration obviously.
But
it's very good.
You know that I love being immersed.
Yes, so. It's very, very good. Highly recommend.
Thank you.
Anyway, hi Kaylee. Hi. What is going on? Why did your husband text me a very weird, concerning GIF this morning?
Okay, so let me start by saying that I realized, I don't know, since I've been more into the book community on these like short form media, that I stopped reading romance when I was roughly in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. That was, unfortunately, I started very early because those were the books that were in the house. And
that's right. You've talked about this before. Your mom was like all in on romance books. And then eventually you were like, Mother, can we go to the library and get literally anything else?
The same. And so even books that I've, moved forward with that have, romance that I considered romance are definitely more weighted to like the action and character side than the romance side. And one of our friends who is more firmly on the romance side has let me know about that. And we were one of the articles that you sent me, and they made some recommendations, and it was like one of them was like for the people that want to fill the shadow daddy void in your life, and I was just like, this is the second time this term has come up, and I didn't look it up the first time. So I was just like, I think I'm going to save it. Maybe Annie can tell me what this term is. And Alex was like, well, maybe. And we were just kind of like workshopping it together. Like
what is a shadow daddy?
Yeah. And he was like, well, maybe it's like a sugar daddy, but they're off screen. And I was like, I'm only going to say that's probably not correct because I know the internet.
And, yeah, no, all our shit's on screen, baby girl.
And it's romance novels. But I appreciate the fact that I think Annie is going to be very tickled and just feel this is yet again a circumstance in which she's going to be like, you guys are just so pure. And Annie's nodding right now. So I just thought it would be funny to share that with you on record.
I will say the gift that he sent me was a shadow daddy.
He looked it up and he was like,
did.
Do you want to know? I was like, no, Annie has to tell me.
Oh, so I'm here to tell you.
You have to tell me.
Oh, okay.
All about this. Give me the. Okay,
awesome.
So guys, also, this is in context to the Romantasy saving publishing
yeah,
in general.
So this is a story we'll get into a little bit later, but so a shadow daddy is usually this is dark romance, but it can be in like just like a more straightforward romantasy. So dark romance usually involves elements of abuse or very problematic behaviors, but that the two main characters are together either in spite of or because of that. So there are problematic elements involved. This is where one of the characters, the main character, is usually supernatural in some way, and then also is demanding in a way that a lot of people find hot, like very...
Oh, in fiction specifically?
Yes, obviously. I don't think you've read the one that he sent me, so like I can't... I'm trying to think. I guess like... If 50 Shades of Grey had any magic in it, Christian Grey would be a shadow daddy.
God, I was gonna say that was what I was kind of like pulling together. So technically, it's Twilight fan fiction.
Yes, if Edward had been in any way like actually dark, like done anything actually dark at all,
instead of just thinking about
anything that had been like anything, he would have been a shadow daddy. But as it was, he's just like a brooding 17-year-old. Angel was a shadow daddy. In the first couple seasons of Buffy, he specifically those where he had like his own place, he was like dealing with his own life, and she was just kind of showing up, and then he was helping her, and then like being like the push-pull, and then, you know, them actually like consummating and being hot together. That was a shadow daddy situation.
Interesting. So Alex was actually just recently rewatching Buffy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember there being, but also again, I would not have picked up on the vibes. I don't remember him being like especially like demanding.
There is a power dynamic. I shouldn't say demanding, I suppose, but there's a power dynamic involved.
Okay.
If Giles was evil,
yeah,
shadow daddy, which I'm positive is a whole genre now that I'm thinking about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Give me my shadow daddy librarian. Oh my God. I just discovered a kink live on air.
So much.
You all get to experience this with me.
My husband definitely has like just a shiver of glee right up his spine, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm obviously not remembering the full name. Let me remember the full name. It's a Netflix show, Shadow and Bone.
Okay. The Cassandra Clare, maybe? Is that one, or is that a different one?
No, Shadow and Bone is written by Lee Bardugo.
Okay.
It's a YA series about, it's very similar to the like Divergent sort of thing. It's like everybody's born with like maybe a thing or maybe not, and then there's like this like big government thing, and they've got a lot of power, blah, blah, blah. So the gift that your husband sent me was the shadow daddy in that one, because it's Ben Barnes, first of all. And the other main character is this girl who, I swear to you, just never grew out of her baby face. She's like 30, but she looks like 14. So it's very much like it feels like a shadow daddy situation. Like if Snape was helpful ever, he would have been a shadow daddy.
Oh my God. Guys, I also saw the best breakdown, one of the other people that I follow, the best breakdown of like why Snape blew up, because there was book fandom there was a small fandom for Snape because he was unpleasant, and some people just like that, which is fine.
It's true.
But once Alan Rickman hit the scene,
mm-hmm.
vastly different approach to making this character sympathetic,
mm-hmm.
and the way that they approached showing because it was outside of maybe the main character's head and stuff, and like also just showed like the different things that happen in the books and how they happen differently in the movies that made him infinitely more likable in the movies. And it's so true. So I could definitely maybe see movie Snape being what you're describing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that's a shadow daddy. Do you feel more enriched for having this knowledge?
I don't know if I certainly have more knowledge than I had before. I know more things now.
You are going to log this away, and it's going to be really valuable maybe one day.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Annie, we have so much to record.
We have so much
sorry.
news to do. Moving on to news. We do keep an eye on the news industry here, because that is a huge part of publishing. Pretty much every nonfiction book at one time or another comes out of a news story. So however you feel about, capitalism or journalistic freedom or democracy, you cannot deny that Jeff Bezos and the White House press secretary are breaking from historical norms when they are doing some more recent moves that they are making. So Jeff Bezos recently made some big changes at the Washington Post. And Kaylee, do you want to give us the short version?
Yeah, absolutely. So editorials are going to be focused on personal liberties and free markets.
Yeah, so the Washington Post is now going to be a libertarian newspaper, and that's fine. I would say that is an owner absolutely exerting editorial control, however, which he had promised to not do.
Oh, yeah, famously, all of these rich assholes notoriously keep their promises.
They do, for sure.
As we've seen many, many times in the last 10 years.
Yeah, so I found this roundup from Pointer, and this is obviously biased in favor of the news organizations and their, missions, but I thought it was a really good roundup of what's going on. Essentially, Jeff Bezos is telling the Washington Post, which is one of the kind of big bastions of independent reporting, to not focus as much on independent reporting in their editorials. Now, that's different from the news desks. So editorial and opinion are different from the hard news and the other kinds of topics. And we've talked about that in a lot of times in this show. So he's not saying that the Washington Post is never allowed to report on anything else. What he's saying is that the Post itself, its editorial board, is only really allowed to endorse ideas that follow along with free markets and personal liberties, which is a very kind of libertarian bent, which Bezos has kind of been on the libertarian beat for a while. So this wasn't super surprising to me. But because he had so vehemently said for so many years, he bought the Post back in 2015, something like that, before 2016, I want to say. And it was... his whole thing was, I want this to remain independent. I'm buying it because I want it to remain independent. I don't want it to fall into the hands of, some biased oligarch.
Jeff.
Yeah, and for a while, that happened. He was very hands-off for quite a while. And then over the past maybe year or 2 years, he's been kind of exerting his control a lot more. And this is one of those moments where he is essentially saying to the editorial and opinion writers, you need to focus on this one specific thing or not focus on these other specific things. And that's kind of, it's not a big deal, but it feels very telling of where we're at in the news industry right now, that this owner is able to just say to this storied institution, actually, no, you can't do that anymore. We're talking about the paper that published the Vietnam Papers that, broke the Watergate story. These kind of bastions of free information and holding power to account. But now they're going to be talking about free markets and personal liberties, which it's fine. As concepts, personal liberties, yeah, whatever. Free markets, sure. But weird to be forcing the issue. And it gives me the ick.
Oh, no, 100%. Yeah, it's definitely telling across the board. I mean, so many people have betrayed themselves and their ethics and their morality. Just balls to the wall out in public. And the ick is certainly present. I think if anybody's paying attention, it's absolutely and damningly public. It's sad. Mm-hmm. It's really sad. I mean, obviously, don't idolize anyone, but do pay attention to how people speak. And as you vote with your dollars, consider, that anything can change in the future. So, for example, people that currently own vehicles that they may no longer approve of a company, that changed. There was a totally different shift. And, people are trying to respond to that now, because they have these vehicles that are massively expensive. They can't just swap it out for a variety of reasons. They are trying. Many people are trying, but it's not quick. People can turn on a dime. So vote with the dollars going forward when somebody, I think, exhibits updated behavior that no longer jives with your perspectives, your ethics, your stance. I think that's just something that we all have to process and move on. Don't idolize anyone.
Don't idolize anyone.
At the end of the day, don't put anybody up on that pedestal, because it will only make it harder for you to respond to things that are actually happening in the world rather than just in your head.
Agreed. Separately, this is going to get a little political, so skip forward if you don't want to hear that. The White House press pool is also a storied institution that a lot of people I don't think pay attention to. Whenever you see the press secretary or someone else in the White House presenting from that podium, that is in a room called the press pool. And that press pool is run by the White House, because it's, it has the ability to invite or disinvite people into that press pool. Essentially, if you have access to the press pool, you have the ability to report independently on what is going on in the White House. If you do not, you are being targeted, frankly. And if you have a national audience, you are being excluded from those scoops. And you have to kind of depend on other news organizations to tell you what's going on there. And so you can imagine, as a news organization, you want to be in that room, if only to have your questions asked, to be like, hey, you know, I have this question about this other thing, and to not just let the people in power say whatever it is that they want to say.
And the people in power don't like that.
And the people in power don't like that. So this was a pretty fast-moving story. So I am giving you all the latest as of when I put this episode together, which may have changed since when you're listening to this. So Donald Trump is exercising his control in the press room and excluding, for example, the Associated Press, which is an international organization that makes sure to have non-editorial news coming out of various places across the world. We've actually recommended the Associated Press before because they don't really do editorials. Like we were talking about with the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos saying the editorials have to be this way. AP doesn't do editorials. They just do news. They do straight up facts. Most of their stories are very short. They're just like, this happened.
But recall that this administration, both historically and currently, does not like being presented with the facts of their words, deeds, and actions.
Right.
Because it looks bad.
Nor the context surrounding those, which is another part of good reporting that one would provide. So the AP has now been kicked out of the White House press pool. Other members of the press pool, including Newsmax and Fox News, have said this is not okay. We don't want a precedent to be set that the government can start excluding people. It feels like a slippery slope. We do have freedom of the press here. He is not impeding that freedom of the press by excluding people. However, it is a precedent that many reporters are uncomfortable with. So they have kind of come together and said, hey, all of us, we would like to bring the AP back. Donald Trump is still not allowing the AP back.
Well, also consider that it also looks bad. It looks like you are a shill. That, like, what potential credibility you might have as an organization that you are for purchase, like that you can be bought.
I think that matters to reporters when they interact with other reporters. I don't know that matters as much to the public, but I agree with you. That's one of those things where, like, I truly wish that more people cared about ethics and integrity in news, but it's just not something that I think a lot of people do care about. But I agree with you 100%.
I don't know. I feel like some of the distrust for journalism is around, and whether or not it's contextualized with those words, I do think a lot of it is around what feels like unethical behavior.
Maybe I'm just cynical. Maybe I'm like, people don't care, but they should.
I mean,
but maybe they do care. Maybe I'm just being cynical.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think I just don't think it's like, it's a lot of the things like that that we talk about. I get a lot of my conservative family they have to stop when I reframe things in ways that don't actually seem as flattering as they would like them to be.
Yeah.
Which refer to the facts of things. So I would say that a lot of the criticism of journalism and modern journalism especially does come back to ethics and maybe quality of the actual reporting. And I think that might have something to do with it.
So you think it's very telling that Newsmax and Fox News are saying, yeah, this is not something we're comfortable with. These reporters are acting ethically and we want to make sure that we support them.
I do think that there are a lot, like, I mean, Murdoch went in front of a legislative body and said that, like, my people don't have to tell the truth on air because a reasonable person would not assume that this was correct.
He was talking about his opinion shows, to be fair, but yes, I agree with you.
So, like, there are people in Fox that notoriously don't play in this realm, but they do actually have many good reporters.
News teams, yeah.
And their news teams, like, especially, like, I've referred to like Fox for Local News especially frequently. Yeah. And I
our
think
local Fox affiliate, what is it? What are we? 45, Fox 45. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was, but, like, they're going to lose good journalists because they don't want to apply to an institution with that sort of reputation.
Yeah, this is something that came up a lot. Again, I don't work in news anymore, but in the like final couple years that I was there, when Fox News's opinion shows were on, you know, like, everybody's mind, that's things like Tucker Carlson and what's his name? Sean Hannity. They are, very popular opinion shows. And a lot of people are talking about like how, those shows do exist, and surrounding them are actual news shows with actual news crews who would never have said something like that. And then along the same lines, there was an open letter from the Wall Street Journal's news team saying that our opinion editorial pages it feels like getting out of control because they are saying things that our news team would never have allowed to be on the news pages, but we're just letting them say whatever they want on the opinion editorial pages. This feels wrong because it's essentially trading on the news's reputation to prop up someone else's opinion.
And it's not framed in such a way that is very clearly this is an opinion
Yeah,
only.
exactly. So there were a lot of people kind of chiming in and being like, should we be upset at the workers who, are diligently doing all of the ethical reporting at, the Wall Street Journal and Fox News, just because elsewhere on their networks are people who we disagree with? And I think that that's an ongoing conversation of like, at what level do you feel like you can and must change things from the inside versus where do you draw the line?
Yeah, like where do you draw the line? And that's
something that, I mean, that goes even further. Like that's a criticism that people lob at Brandon Sanderson, who remains a devoted Mormon. But he disagrees very heavily with many things that the Mormon church publicly espouses. And he says, I am changing it from the inside. I am using my platform from the inside. And people are like, where do you draw the line? Which, fair question.
I mean, it is a question. It is a discussion.
It is.
It's an active discussion. And that's
it is an active discussion in so many realms. Yeah. Moving on, let's get into our trending stories. These are stories that are not the most meaty, and they make us feel good, and we wanted to talk about them. And it's our podcast, so
we needed to uplift ourselves.
Yeah. Kaylee, Suetonius is back on the bestseller list. It's been so long.
I love this happens, like, again, it's a cyclical thing, and I love it so much. So this definitely reminded me a little bit of how, like, the serials of Frankenstein and Dracula, like, just shot out when we started doing the Substack, daily, Dracula Daily. So, guys, Suetonius is a historian, but, like, not...
A Latin historian.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Contemporary Roman.
2,000 years ago, this man existed, just to set the stage correctly. I mean, I know that doesn't seem like a modern name, but you never know. And wrote The Lives of Caesar, with a Latin title, obviously.
Caesar being the title, so he's writing about the lives of the emperors.
Yes. So we had a podcaster in this case, and his podcast is
a British podcaster a podcast that focuses on Roman history.
Yeah,
his Roman Empire is the Roman Empire.
Yeah. Exactly. So they did a few episodes, I think 4 episodes in a month, and released this particular translation of Suetonius's book.
Yeah.
Which I just want to put out there. I don't remember much about my Latin. I had a classics minor. So I don't remember much about.
I didn't know you had a classics minor.
Yeah, girl.
Were you just like mostly
minored.
focused on the Greece? You're just like, fuck Rome.
It was fully classics, but yeah, I did lean heavily into the Greek stuff. Yeah. Yes.
For those who don't like live in academia like we do, classics means Greek and Roman studies. Go ahead.
Sorry. But I do remember my professors just so sad that like the Ars Germanica is no longer extant. What that means is it's no longer around. So Pliny the Elder wrote apparently a very well done history of the German wars and empires at the time, and it's been lost. So we refer to it. We have many references to it, but the actual document itself is no longer available for us to actually review ourselves. But not the Lives of Caesar. And I only say that because it is definitely, I know why the podcast chose this one over Tacitus.
Sure.
Tacitus is probably the most respected historian that we still have access to.
But why would you go for a respected historian
when you could go for what is a gossip rag of the time? It's not that
Suetonius wrote. Okay, I'm going to read you a quote from the man who actually did the translation. He said, "I think the reason that it's always been popular, Suetonius's book, is the fact that it's full of the most sensational gossip. It's kind of ancient Rome's pop bitch. It's full of scandal and extraordinary detail, but it's also very psychologically astute. It has the quality of a very highbrow gossip column."
There's no actual, there's nothing to reference. Like, Suetonius didn't include, like, sources. He's
Right.
just like, everybody knows.
The
Let's
source-
chat.
Our
Here's
so
the tea.
as far as we know, Suetonius did have access to the Roman ancient court records. So we believe that he got it from primary sources.
But the problem
we
is
don't know.
that he didn't make those references, and
right.
we don't have them now.
Right,
and
right.
it's just, it's very sensate. Anyway, so at the end of the day, just to be clear,
Yeah.
I loved Suetonius. Like,
Okay.
100%. I totally understand why it keeps coming back up. It's just very funny for me that I know, I feel like I have some professors just cringing in the background that this is now yet again.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah,
New
yeah,
York
yeah.
Best- Like, again, it's a popular translation.
Yeah.
But good for you, buddy.
Yeah, so it's so this translation of Suetonius's book about the Caesars is now on the bestseller list in the UK after 2 millennia. And the podcaster said he is delighted for Suetonius to see that the lad is capable of getting on the bestseller list after so long. So that delighted me because I, first of all, just love the idea of Suetonius as a historical character. He's not quite my favorite historical character, but I love him deeply just because he was just like, and then they had a baby. And I don't know if you know this, but the baby was his. And you're just like, no, Suetonius.
What?
You can't be.
Tell me more.
And
It's
I love
just-
it so much. So this podcaster was able to translate it from the Latin. I'm assuming there was some editorial flourishes in there as well. So good on you, Suetonius, and good on you. Tom Holland is the name, not the young Spider-Man, the podcaster.
And the podcast, I think, is called The Rest is History.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
so go check them out.
I was thinking about just checking out the specific episodes on, because they put out episodes related to this.
If
So-
you are interested in classics in general and another funny person taking a look at Suetonius, Natalie Hines has a podcast called Standing Up for the Classics, and she is absolutely fantastic and has several episodes on Suetonius and his work.
well, that's fun. I'll do that one too.
Moving on, this was making the rounds on Goodreads and TikTok and Instagram. I don't know if you got it on BookTube. That's kind of more where you're active. But Sophie Lark is a best-selling author of romance novels, and the romance novel reading community is very online, and they move books. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, get an influencer to plug your book and your book will do great. That's really true in the romance book genre. Romance readers buy, I think, an orders of magnitude more books than any other genre reader. I think they're called super readers. They read something like 200 books a year, which good on them. Holy shit. But also, you know, that this is kind of a huge deal. So Sophie Lark is a writer, and she was launching a new series. She sent out her pre-published versions, the ARCs, and people started reading them and posting some quotes. Now, I will say some of these are whatever. Like, it's just kind of rage bait. Some of these posts are kind of rage bait. But some of the quotes are genuinely racist. Without, like, knowing anything else about what's going on in the book. I don't know if, like, this was said just on purpose, like, that you want this character to be hated or whatever. So I don't know if that was the context of these quotes. But these quotes are genuinely racist, some of them.
I think that like, in the article, she says that this was supposed to be indicative of a problematic character.
That's
but
what she says,
some of
yeah.
the counter arguments against that are like, well, you don't have anybody challenge this, which
Yeah.
means that it is a problematic world that you have written.
Yeah,
It is not a
exactly.
problematic character. Mm-hmm. It's only problematic character if somebody challenges it, so you can establish that it is not. That is not the expected and approved of behavior in the world that you are creating.
So Sophie Lark and this new series were dropped by the publisher. Her publisher has decided to not move forward with its partnership with her. Almost certainly she's going to land safely somewhere else. Don't worry about Sophie Lark. But it is turning into a big discussion of, like, where do we draw the line again on holding authors to account of their characters' opinions? We cannot hold every author to every villain's theory. And again, we haven't read the book. We can't read the book. It's not out yet. So we don't know for sure if these, you know, early reviewers are taking these things out of context, or if someone does adequately challenge these frankly racist lines. And some of the lines are just like, meh, whatever. Like, I don't care. I understand that a lot of people consider Elon Musk to be just a baseline problematic person, and that's fine. That's their opinion. That's also my opinion. It's fine. But I don't think that anyone being like, Elon Musk has done cool things is necessarily also a bad person. Like, I think
it's
both
all
things
about,
can be true.
I think you're correct. And I do think that is just like, it's a built-up content. Like if it was just the Elon Musk comments,
it would
probably
whatever.
be a different conversation.
But it's like Elon Musk plus racism.
And I think the other thing that's important and probably why Bloom dropped her is that sensitivity readers did warn her that this was a problem that should be addressed. And,
always listen
and
to your
that's when you get the
sensitivity
quote
readers.
that like I thought it would be good to maintain as evidence of a problematic character. But then, and again, as Annie said, we have not seen this book. We did not get an arc, which is fair. But as we were talking about villains, like, or when do you hold your author to your villain? Well, the villain's not supposed to be right. Across the board, that's why they're the villain. And sometimes a book has only villains, and that's addressed and set up appropriately. Or it's a subconscious thing, but it's very clear in how things play out. Like you can have right side, and it can be very clearly addressed in that like Game of Thrones style where like just everybody's bad person pretty much. But like how are you going to ignore these people and they're giving you the advice that will help you address issues?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Sophie Lark is responding to that now and not doubling down, because we have seen a lot of doubling down in especially areas of racism in the liberal community.
Yeah, she has responded. As Kaylee said, I think she put out a TikTok or an Instagram reel. It was a short video either way. And she said, I'm sorry. I thought that I had adequately written these scenes, but it turns out that I hadn't. And, the sensitivity readers, to their credit, did call it out. And I had said no. And, Kaylee and I have advocated for sensitivity readers, but ultimately it is the author's choice whether or not they want to listen to them. And if I had to guess, I'd say if your book is at the point of arcs being sent around, it's been printed and it's actually very difficult to change things. My guess is that she initially pushed back because because the publisher probably said something along the lines of, if we have to reprint this, it's going to come out of your royalties. And so she had probably said something like, don't want that. You see me moving my collar by moving my hair. That was a weird...
It's like you need to pinch the air a little more when you do that.
So I can kind of see like vaguely how she got to this point, but she has been dropped from her publisher and she'll almost certainly land somewhere safely. But there has been a lot of discourse of people saying like, why did the publisher give in? And why did she apologize? And why did she not stand by it and just let it publish and figure it out from there? And some people being like, if you don't want to read the book, don't read the book. And, first of all, holding ARC readers to if you don't want to read the book, don't read the book is a little bit weird, because that is the point of ARC readers, is that they have to read the book in order to justify receiving the ARC, basically. But also, I do agree that, if you don't like the book, don't read the book. And I think that that's actually a service that ARC readers provide, is to say, hey, this is what's in this book. If you don't like that, don't read this book. And, I've read it instead. But also, at a certain point, the publisher is run by people and it's making choices based on those people's values. And it's entirely possible that those people are like, I don't want to say siding with the sensitivity editors, but had put more stock in the sensitivity editors and had kind of said, like, if you are going to keep pushing on this, Sophie, this is what's going to happen. And then it did. So I don't know. I'm not mad about it, but it has been absolutely all over the place, to the point where this story, what I linked, is from the New York Times. Like, it made it all the way up to the New York Times from TikTok. So it seems like it's one of those things that is kind of sparking a lot of discussion. All right, moving on to our favorite news section, celebrating historically marginalized peoples killing it in publishing. Specifically, we are celebrating the trans community this year. They will be able to actually do a writing retreat. Kaylee, give us the short version.
So Clarion West has announced a scholarship for trans writers. It supports essentially full tuition coverage for their 6-week workshop. It is the C-Star Scholarship, and it is an annual launch.
It's been an annual thing for a while, but it is now. This year, they weren't sure if they were going to get it fully funded because of all of the backlash against DEI, and they were able to get it fully funded. So congratulations to Clarion, and if we do have any trans writers in our audience who would like to apply, we will make sure to put that link in the show notes.
Absolutely. So honestly, hats off, and thank you for not, again, I guess not bowing to pressure, because obviously private companies don't have to, but a lot of them have for fucking no reason, which has drastically shifted my shopping patterns, sadly, and I am mad about it, but I'm not quite that lazy yet, so I still have my somewhat self-respect, I guess. I don't know.
Moving on to our favorite non-news section. Kaylee, what are you reading? Oh, you brought a book.
I did, in fact, bring a book,
Ooh.
yes. So this is the first book of a series that I started. I got from the library. I'm so pleased with myself for actually being able to shill a library book in the library. It's called The Last Sun, Katie Edwards.
It's Last Sun spelled S-U-N, The Last Sun. Okay.
And it is the tarot sequence.
And K.D., it's K.D. Edwards.
Thank you for making sure that people could find this book later.
You're welcome.
I didn't do any of
I mean, it'll be in the show notes either way, but I'm just letting everybody know.
So it's still like early chapters in, but like it gives me very much like Uncharted vibes.
Okay.
But also like I love the
Uncharted movie or Uncharted game? Okay, good. I mean, listen, there are redeeming qualities to the movie. No shade.
I'm with you.
But thank you for clarifying.
But it is very fun. Again, this is a fallen prince sort of situation. Kingdom totally destroyed. Now, like, and it was like a huge kingdom. It was like the Sun Kingdom, whatever. It's gone now. Empire fallen.
Oh, hence The Last Sun. Gotcha.
And now he is a treasure hunter, essentially. He's got a very loyal bodyguard, his bestie. We
stand in Angus.
Absolutely. Like, guys, I do
I don't know if everyone else has read What Moves the Dead, but if you have, we stand in Angus. Go ahead.
Again, T. Kingfisher, guys.
Yes, we're a problem. Go ahead.
Fisher. If she ever became aware of this podcast, I'd probably I would turn into a fangirl. I try not, again, don't idolize people.
Just faint.
But like, I love T. Kingfisher so much, you guys. But yeah, so again, a great characterization, the fun action. I did spoil myself a teeny tiny bit because when I was looking to figure out what books I wanted to borrow from the library, somebody did mention that there is the romance in here is coming in later. There is a golden retriever character who typically is sort of boring, like in a lot of romance novels, but in this case they're not. They're just, it's fun, and the character still remains like interesting, and the romance is interesting and fun, and I'm so pleased and I'm enjoying it very much. Anyway, Annie, what are you reading?
Kaylee, I am reading the most Kaylee-coded book that I have ever experienced in my life. It is called Bury Your Gaze by our friend Chuck Tingle.
I am so glad because it's been on my list forever. It's like next on my list, but I wanted to go to a library book.
So I am listening to the audiobook version, which is fully cast, and it also features our friend T. Kingfisher as a narrator voice. I don't know who she voices. My guess is I've already heard her because we had like a bit like Hiker that just had like a distinct voice for no particular reason that I can figure out. But so the plot is that this writer in Hollywood is being told by his producer that he has to kill off 2 lesbian characters in his show. And as the head writer, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. And then he starts being haunted by all of the old scary movie characters that he created. And he has a bestie who is a flamboyantly aro ace woman who he like describes her outfits as like they are zany, and he's like, but she pulls it off. And I'm like, hell yeah, she does. And his boyfriend is named Zeke, and he's like the huggable golden retriever boy. And Zeke is like the cutest, sweetest. I love him already. He's been in 2 scenes, and I love him so much.
If anything happens to Zeke, he'll kill everyone in this room and then myself. Yeah. That's a meme, by the way. Like, it's not.
Yeah, so I'm loving it a lot. And also, it's going into the fact that, like, horror writers, a lot of them, are basing their characters on a lot of internal trauma. And so, like, if that comes to life and comes after you, that is scary in so many ways.
That's levels.
It's levels. Sure. Yeah. And it's like, you don't expect that from Chuck Tingle, but also you do. You do expect that from Chuck Tingle.
He's such a, he's persona.
I believe he would.
Yeah. Just a very, like, if you're stepping away from the meta porn, but even in the meta
satirical porn. Yeah. And he's moving into actual, like, literary horror, and it's very, very good and very funny,
very approachable.
And also, I will say, if you plan on reading this book, Kaylee, I would read it sooner than later because it is extremely relevant. It's post writer's strike and also post AI, but obviously all this is changing very quickly, so my guess is that it'll kind of be irrelevant soon. But like the Arrow Ace character, her whole thing is that she's a techie, and so she's trying to stop everybody from using their smartphones in like specific locations because she knows exactly how everybody is being tracked, and she's just like, turn your shit off, put it on airplane mode because this building over here has like this and this sensors on it and all of this stuff. And I think that's going to end up becoming a thing. But also they're like talking about like the ethics of using AI to CGI create a character based on an actor who has passed away. And the story starts with that actor receiving an Oscar nomination, even though he's passed away and he's CG. And also our main character has received an Oscar nomination as well, but it's fine. And he's like, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to talk about it. Ugh. But also tell me how great I am. And you're just like, oh, I want to hug you so bad. But yes, it's very, very, very good. It's fully cast. It's very surreal. It's one of those where like you'll be reading for 3 chapters and you think you've got it. And then the next chapter is from a totally different perspective. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? And then the immediate next chapter, you're back in like essentially the other time flow. And you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I trust Chuck Tingle. So let's make this happen. So highly recommended. I got it through the library on audio from my Libby account. So yes, highly recommend. Kaylee, do you have a Kaylee Coda for us today?
So I think it's good for me to remind myself, because we just talked about Chuck Tingle, we just talked about T. Kingfisher, and I don't want Feet of Clay to cause issues. So people, like, don't idolize people, but respect them. You can have like a golden statue, but they have feet of clay. So if you put somebody up, like, essentially they crumble.
Put them up too high, they'll crumble.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
So for myself, for anybody else that needs to hear this, people, you can respect people. They can let you down, but they can grow. And as long as a person is willing to maybe discuss their perspectives, maybe learn from things that have happened in response to maybe a mistake that they made, that's how people grow. People are allowed to grow. And I see this a lot in online communities where people don't acknowledge that. Like, if you make a mistake once, then you're tarred forever. And that's just not realistic, and it's not feasible. And frankly, it's just sad, because you're gonna do that to yourself. That means that you don't live, because you're terrified of ever making a mistake, because you know that the people that you have invested in your community with will literally turn on you like a pack of ravenous wolves. So don't do that. Just be aware of individuals as individuals that are not perfect, and allow them to grow. And again, if they choose to respond in a way that runs antithetical to your position of who you are as a person and what you want to support, then you can just walk away. That's fine. You can we've already talked about this regarding, in many of our episodes regarding like death of the author and discussion of authors that prove to have problematic elements, and how we can sort of respond to that. That you can always walk away and stop supporting somebody or something that no longer aligns to your perspective and your personality.
Thank you for listening to the Ink Sync. I am still Annie. That is still Kaylee. You can follow us wherever you scroll, and follow us on any podcast app that you would like, including YouTube and Substack. And you can find links for all of those things in our link tree, which is wherever you found this show. Thank you. Huge, huge, huge thank you to all of our supporters, Kevin, Abby, Lisa, Holly, and huge thank you to the Catonsville branch of the Baltimore County Public Library for letting us use their studio space. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us as we've been through this hella transition year. And we hope to see you here soon. Thank you for listening.